All right, boys and girls, it's that time again. It's time for the Math Badger Blip. All right, this is where you get a sneak peek into what we're going to be learning about today during our lesson. So this is the Math Badger Blip. And if you're already sneaking and peeking, well, look behind me. What are we going to be learning about today? Ooh, benchmark fractions. What on earth is a benchmark fraction? This lady's always up here yapping about fractions. What is a benchmark fraction? Well, a benchmark fraction is a fraction that is commonly used and it's easy to visualize or think about. So if I said what's half of something, a lot of times that's really easy for us to think about. Or in fourths, okay, I can divide it into nice 4 pieces. Once we get into twelfths and eighths, those are really denominators that you have to think about. But these ones are kind of common. So we usually use a half, fourths, and sometimes we even use thirds. So there's something down here. But just look at that anchor chart in your room and that'll help guide you along. But the most important thing when we're going to be talking about benchmark fractions, I'm going to tell you. You look at the numerator, but the most important part is this bottom number. What's the fancy vocab word for the bottom number of a fraction? That's it. Awesome. A denominator. Denominator is the bottom part. So I always say denominator, numerator. Okay, so we have our denominators. Our downstairs of the fraction is the number 6. So think about that when you look at a benchmark fraction. You're going to be thinking, 6. Well, she's talking about a half. Well, what is half of 6, my denominator? And then I'm thinking in my head, well, I know half is 3. So if I'm looking at a line like this and I say, well, I know half is 3 of 6, I have 2. Am I going to be more than a half or less than that? Well, 2 is less than 3, so my benchmark fraction would go right over here, and it'd probably be closer to my benchmark a half than it would to be 0. But would it be closer to 1/4? It definitely would. It'd be closer to 1/4 if we were using those as a benchmark. But for right now, we're just going to practice placing benchmarks where they go. But what's the most important part when you're dealing with benchmarks? The denominator! All right, you're going to do awesome in today's lesson. I'm super excited, and thanks for having me in your class.